Warning: this program contains content that is not appropriate for children. It contains vulgar language, retarded humor, and a bunch of weird-ass shit that no one will probably understand, including us. Therefore, it should not be viewed by anyone. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, I'm James Michael Wagner.
And I'm John Christopher Wagner.
You may remember us from such audio podcasts as Sex in Space, Where No Man Has Come Before, and VCR, What the Hell Is It, and How Do You Set the Damn Clock on It?
Wait, those are our podcasts? We never made those. What are you talking about?
Oh yeah. Huh. Anyway, we have a very special episode for you today for a blast from the past. In the second installment of the series, we're going to tackle a topic that's been on everybody's minds for a long time, including ours. It's a topic that's very, very close to our hearts and also rage-inducing in a way.
Yep.
And that topic is ice milk, also commonly referred to as iced milk.
Like iced earth.
Yes, except not as cool. So on that note, let's dive right in.
Okay, now, James, where was the first time you heard about this wonderful creation called iced milk?
Well, like many people in our age group, our first experience with ice milk, the concept of it, and until very recently, we thought our only experience with it was from an older episode of The Simpsons.
That's the one where Child Services take Bart, Lisa, and Maggie away, right, and stick them at the Flanders?
Yes, because Marge hangs the toilet paper like upside down on the little holder instead of like the right side up, where the toilet paper's like from the top instead of the bottom. So in that, after that criminal offense occurred, social services sends the kids to live with the Flanders. So they're eating like dinner with them, I think.
Or I think they're playing a board game.
Like they're at the kitchen table because I saw the clip on YouTube. Okay. And then someone just filmed it off the TV, so it's kind of cheap. But anyway, in that scene, they're sitting at the table, and it's like right after they're eating dinner, and then Bart and Lisa look depressed, and Ned says to them, I'm paraphrasing here, like summarizing, and he says like something to the effect of, "All right, you gloomy gusses, like who wants some like non-fat ice milk?" And then Todd, his youngest son, raises his hand and says, "I want wintergreen." And then his mom raises her hand next, Maud, and Ned's wife, and she says, "Non-flavored for me." And then Bart and Lisa just look at each other with weird looks, like perplexed looks, because they weren't too happy with this.
It was like they didn't know what ice milk was, much like we did.
And that started our long, dormant obsession with it.
In magical, far-out musical quest to figure out what the hell is iced milk.
Abso-fucking-tootly.
So, iced milk, before we get into that, I'm going to just give a little history on ice cream in general because it's interesting. Because it actually has it goes back pretty far. Its origins could be traced back to the 2nd century BC. There's no specific date or inventor for it, like most things like that are created. Apparently, Alexander the Great enjoyed stone ice flavored with honey and nectar. Maybe if they would have put that in the Alexander the Great movie, it would have done better. Also, there are biblical references too about ice cream. The references state that King Solomon was fond of ice drinks during harvesting, and if you understand the Song of Solomon, you know that's not the only thing he was fond of.
So those were the juices he wanted to taste.
Yes, but that's for another podcast in the future. And then during the Roman Empire, Nero, not the CD burning program, Claudius Caesar set runners into the mountains for snow, which were then flavored with fruits and juices.
So that's what Satyrcon's album, The Age of Nero, was about.
Yeah, it was about the godfather of ice cream, which is fruits and juices mixed with snow. So then anyway, we flash forward a couple years because we get in our go forward machine. The first official account of ice cream in the New World came from a letter written in 1744 by a guest of Maryland Governor William Bladden. And then the first advertisement for it in the country appeared in the New York Gazette on May 12th, 1777, when confectioner Philip Lindsay announced that ice cream was available almost every day. So then ice cream also was used by famous people, eaten by famous people as well. Records kept by Catherine Street, New York merchants showed that President George Washington spent approximately $200 for ice cream during the summer of 1790. In today's money, that's like, what, $1 million?
Probably more like $10 million.
And then inventory records of Mount Vernon
Vernon, not Vermin.
Vernon, which we've been to, taken after Washington's death, revealed 2 pewter ice cream pots. President Tom Jefferson was said to have a favored 18-step recipe for an ice cream delicacy that resembled a modern-day baked Alaska. That is really one complex recipe. I tell you what.
Aside from never heard Thomas Jefferson being referenced as Tom Jefferson, what's baked Alaska again?
It's some cold thing you put fire on, I think.
Okay.
And I think it has ice cream, but it's like lit on fire. It's a fancy.
So ice cream is part of it.
Yeah, I think so.
We should probably look that up so you can compare to what ice cream is if it was supposed to be similar to baked Alaska. My cohort's just doing that really quick so you out there in internet land can understand the comparison better.
Okay, baked Alaska is a dessert food consisting of ice cream and cake topped with brown meringue. You know, like the thing from the lemon meringue pie?
Okay, then it does have ice cream in it. Okay, we can move on.
So it's something like that. If you want to learn more about baked Alaska, please go to Wikipedia. They have a nice picture that shows it better than I could describe it. Now, until 1800, ice cream remained a rare and exotic dessert enjoyed mostly by the elite. You know, like the liberals who want to turn you into slaves. Around 1800, insulated ice houses were invented, and then because of that, manufacturing ice cream became an industry in America. And it was pioneered in 1851 by a Baltimore milk dealer named Jacob Fussell. And then, like many other American industries, ice cream production increased because of technological innovations, such as steam power, mechanical refrigeration, the homogenizer, electric-powered motors, packing machines, and new freezing processes and equipment.
So what you're saying is, in a nutshell, capitalism made all this possible.
Much like Tony Stark's dad, Howard Stark, ice cream before then was an idea, but due to technological limitations of the time, they could not do it.
Yes. So instead of the Iron Man... it wasn't the Iron Man suit. He was working on, what kind of energy source again?
I don't remember.
Yeah, well, some kind of element or something.
Yeah.
That was in the second one.
Yes.
I forgot what it was, but he was limited because of the technology of his time. So instead of getting that, we got ice cream. So
Yay!
It's better than the Iron Man movies.
Yes. Then in 1874, the American soda fountain shop in the profession of the soda jerk.
Oh, Dorothy Spornak.
Yeah. Soda jerk emerged with the invention of the ice cream soda.
And no, this is not a sexual euphemism. We're really talking about people who made sodas and like drinks and stuff at ice cream parlors.
Not Super Hot Chicks jerking you off. In response to religious criticism for eating sinfully rich ice cream sodas on Sundays, ice cream merchants left out the carbonated water and invented the ice cream sundae, spelled Sunday, like the day, in the late 1890s. But then the name was eventually changed to Sundae, Sundae, to remove any connection with the Sabbath. So that's why it's called ice cream sundae, AE instead of AY.
I don't know why any religion would have a problem with Sunday.
That doesn't make any sense. Because I know on Ren and Stimpy they did a joke like that where Ren was eating all the Sundays from the calendar when they had no food.
Yes.
And the joke was that he ate all the Sundays because they were like ice cream sundaes, even though they were the day Sundays. I think that's what the joke was. They were like in space, I think.
Okay, I'm sure it'll be...
Because in the calendar, all the Sundays were gone.
Okay, that sounds like something for Ren.
You can look that up on YouTube.
Yes, at our own own time.
And then ice cream was popular during World War II, and each branch of the military tried to outdo each other with serving ice cream to its troops. In 1945, the first floating ice cream parlor was built for sailors in the Western Pacific.
Ooh.
But then there was dairy product rationing in World War II, and when that was lifted, America celebrated the victory with ice cream. So then, of course, in the 1940s through the 70s, ice cream production remained relatively constant in the United States. And then as more prepackaged ice cream was sold through supermarkets, traditional ice cream parlors and soda fountains started to disappear. And that's true because there are no soda jerks anymore. There's no ice cream parlors really anymore except for a few, because most people just buy them from the freezer at Pick and Save or Myers.
Well, there are still people that make ice cream drinks and ice cream sundaes and stuff. I don't know if they're called soda jerks anymore, at least not around where we are, but there are some, I guess, parlors left that make things like that. But since now that we've gone through a brief history of ice cream, how does ice milk fit into all of this?
Well,
where is its place in history?
First, let me use Wikipedia to help explain what ice milk exactly is, and then I will talk about its place within the other types of ice cream there are. So, ice milk, or iced milk, if you like the D, is a frozen dessert with less than 10% milk fat and the same sweetener content as ice cream. Ice milk is sometimes priced lower than ice cream, so it's for cheap bastards. It's like the retarded cousin that nobody wants, for people who can't afford anything better.
So that means that the Flanders were cheap bastards in The Simpsons.
Looks like it.
Or poor bastards.
Yep, looks like it to me.
Or both.
Yeah.
Huh.
So, or they're just lame. A 1994 change in United States Food and Drug Administration rules allowed ice cream to be labeled as low-fat ice cream in the United States. So, ice milk is technically still around. We thought that it completely disappeared, like, forever.
This is the part where I want to mention it was disappointing, and because we thought it would have the sordid history and be really interesting and stuff, and it was like a lost relic of a forgotten age. And it turns out that the government probably just spent billions of dollars, I'm assuming, because it's always billions of dollars, on a law, I guess, where they could change the name to low-fat ice cream. So it's still around. We've seen it millions of times before. We just didn't know it was the same thing from The Simpsons. So it's always been ice milk.
Okay. So now we're going to look at the Canadian guidelines, because that's what Wikipedia has for iced milk. I'm assuming the United States would be similar.
Well, it's the Canadian guidelines. I'm sure it's very, very official.
It's like the Rainbow of Foods.
Yeah, it's incredible. Like Mexican Council of Food.
Yeah. Ice milk mix, the primary ingredient of ice milk, is defined as the unfrozen and pasteurized combinations of milk or milk products. I don't know what a milk product is. You can look that up. And then, in most of the cases, it still contains eggs, a flavoring preparation, cocoa or chocolate syrup, sequestering agent, salt, food coloring, and pH adjusting agents. And then it, of course, is sweetened by sweeteners included but not limited to sugar, liquid sugar, invert sugar, honey, dextrose, glucose, corn syrup, and corn syrup solids. However, there are some restrictions in certain food additive and ingredients that being added in ice milk mix. For example, these are the restrictions. Less than 0.5% of stabilizing agent in the product, less than 1.5% of microsaline cellulose, less than 1% of added edible casein or edible caseinites, less than 33% of solid in milk fats between 3% to 5%. And all the above restrictions are strictly regulated by the Government of Canada under Food and Drug Regulations. And that's just the mix.
Yes, that's just the main component in ice milk, not the actual ice milk.
Now, as for ice milk, the whole thing, in Canada, ice milk is defined as the frozen dessert that is made by freezing an ice milk mix with or without adding air to the product. The drink also has cocoa or chocolate syrup, fruit nuts, or other sweeteners for flavoring purposes. To be considered ice milk, a set of criteria must be met. And once again, this is probably similar to the United States of what their rules are for what is ice milk. 1. The drink should contain a minimum of 33% solid. 2. Contain between 3 to 5% milk fat. 3. Greater than 160 grams of solid and no less than 14 grams of milk fat per liter. 4. Contain no more than 100,000 bacteria per gram. 5. Contains no more than 10 chloroform organisms per gram. All of the above criteria are needed for the product to be considered ice milk.
I also want to go on record as saying that all the technical jargon you just heard, well, we don't really understand most of it. And if you don't either, feel free to please look it up, because we might have to do that ourselves.
Okay. Now, what's interesting is we're not the only ones who give a flying crap about ice milk, because other people do too, and we have evidence. There was an article that was written by Kathleen Trucee-Saul from the Seattle Times Food Reporter, where somebody a reader sent a letter to them asking whatever happened to ice milk. Because the reader insisted it was light, flavorful, and not so cloying as the richer ice cream cousins. So then the newspaper wondered too, what the hell happened to it? Had ice milk been thrown out for something sexier, or merely changed names in search of fame and fortune? And the answer, turns out, is that it's both yes and yes. The problem with ice milk was that it had an identity crisis in 1994 because the feds replaced the regulation that defined it. Products such as ice cream are considered standardized food, meaning the Food and Drug Administration writes the rules that defines them, wherever you live in the country. In the case of ice cream, the main issue is fat content. Once upon a time, the rules were pretty much an either-or situation. Ice cream had to contain at least 10% milk fat, ice milk between 2% and 7%. But the Congress passed the Nutrition Labeling and Education Act of 1992. The FDA set about revising the rules to define nutrient descriptors, or fat content terms that were being tossed all over the place, namely reduced, low, and light. In dealing with the variety of terms, the new rules kept the 10% standard for ice cream, but dropped the old ice milk rule in favor of the new terms. So then, what brings us to the point? What brings us to the present, and then terms like non-fat, because we have terms like non-fat, low-fat, reduced fat, light. Non-fat means the product has no or inconsequential amounts of milk fat, less than 5 grams per half cup serving. Low fat is a maximum of 3 grams per half cup serving. Reduced fat contains at least 25% total fat, less than either the average of leading products or a company's own brand. Light means the product must contain at least half the fat of the average leading ice creams. So also, the term ice milk itself causes problems. Obviously, an ice cream maker's marketing goals figure heavily in all of this. At Dairy Gold, consumer sciences manager Jan Roberts says the term ice milk isn't missed in her circles. It was always a hard sell, she says, because for many people it conjured unappealing images of milk frozen into little ice crystals.
That's what we thought.
Yeah, when we first heard about ice milk on The Simpsons, that's what I thought it was.
Yes, that's why it's rage-inducing, is because it's not very... It's different than ice cream.
The name isn't very appetizing or appealing.
But we thought it was going to be a lot shittier than what it was.
Yes. Though ice milk often has more sugar, it gained a reputation as grainy and was compared to real ice cream. The new term makes it possible to sell essentially the same product under the much more friendly sounding names, which is like low fat, non-fat, that stuff. And then, of course, we all know that fat is what puts the cream in ice cream and gives it that luscious quality, but nobody goes around advertising their ice cream is good because it's loaded with fat.
One of the few things where you actually want more fat in it.
Instead, says Roberts, they may tout their products as premium.
Yes.
So premium means it has more fat because they don't want to tell you that their product has a lot of fat in it.
Well, to me, if it has more fat in it, that's good.
It's good. It may not be good for you, but it tastes good.
That's what I mean. It's not good for you, but it tastes good.
Fat's not good for you, but it tastes good.
But I like that. Premium. So that means all the fat chicks in the world would be premium chicks?
Yeah, I say we do that.
Yes.
The ugly fat chicks are premium.
In other words, all the feminists.
Yeah, and all the hot chicks are like lower grade. Like ice milk.
No, they'll be what's like bargain brand stuff? What's the opposite of premium?
Store brand.
Store brand chicks
or generic brand.
Yeah.
Okay. Then Roberts says there's one other element that defines the good stuff. That's in premium ice cream. All ice cream begins as a fluid, she explains, but in the making, air is added much in the same way what it is when you whip cream. The more air you add, the more volume you get. Cream, what's called overrun. Generally, the overrun is 70% to 80%, but ice cream makers who want to make more for less may go to 100%, meaning their product is equal parts air and fluid mix. Such ice creams obviously won't be as full-bodied or expensive as ones with a lower overrun, but you can't tell that from the labels.
Everything else is on the label.
Yeah, but except for overrun.
Everything's microscopic now because of all the shit they have to put on the label. But that isn't on the label.
So far, we've talked about ice milk and ice cream. But what about all the other various ice cream products out there, too? Like frozen custard, gelato, and frozen yogurt.
Frozen dairy treats.
Yeah. Where do those fit in with ice cream and ice milk? Well, let's see. Speaking with air and liquid, those are the two biggest components of frozen desserts in both amount and importance. As part of other ingredients, water makes up the greatest part of desserts by weight. Air, called overrun, is whipped in for a pleasing texture and consistency.
Well, if you didn't do that, I think it would be like concrete.
Yeah. Without some added air, the food would resemble concrete. Both while scooping and eating. You're right.
Hell's to the yes, motherfucker.
It's the specific components and the ways they're combined that create the different frozen confections. So that's the important part to all of these different desserts. There's just one for about every taste, mood, health, concern, and budget. So it's like Nuke from RoboCop 2. There's an ice cream for every mood. So therefore, when ice cream is made in America, it'll give meaning to that label again.
It's sad that RoboCop can't eat ice cream though, because his digestive system is too simple. So he has to eat baby food.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, we need
big time.
We need to take a moment of silence for that tragedy.
Okay, moving on. The first thing on our list is ice cream. By United States Department of Agriculture standards, a food labeled ice cream should be at least 20% milk solids and 10% milk fat by weight. Premium brands are fattier, typically 14 to 18%. Both milk and cream are used. Sweeteners account for another 15% or so. So that's regular ice cream. Next is frozen custard. This is stuff like Leon's has or like Culver's. because they sell frozen custard. A touch of
and Oscars, I think, does custard.
Okay, so for frozen yogurt, for frozen custard, a touch of egg yolk is what distinguishes frozen custard from regular ice cream or commercial ice cream. Legally, custard only has to contain 1.4% egg yolk by weight, but some brands have more. The lecithin in the yolk is a natural emulsifier, imparting a richer, creamier texture. And that's true. If you go frozen custard, it is creamier than regular ice cream.
Yes, we don't think it's better, it's just different, but it is creamier. It has a creamier texture.
Next, we're up to gelato. Gelato hails from Italy, and its name is simply the Italian word for frozen. Isn't there anything that Italy cannot do? They have the Vatican. They gave us Kaylee Cuoco. They gave us Isabella the belly dancer from YouTube. And now they give us gelato? God damn, Italy's the greatest motherfucking country on the planet.
And don't forget power progressive metal band Labyrinth.
Well, that's true. And also Opera 9, the black metal band, too. So, if you don't know what any of those things are, you can check them up on the internet. Gelato traditionally is made using mostly or entirely milk. Having little or no cream reduces fat while intensifying flavors. So gelato typically has a stronger flavor as regular ice cream, though I don't think it's as sweet.
I think that's true.
Gelato's melt-in-your-mouth creaminess comes from sheer density. It's churned in relatively little added air.
Okay, I think they're right. So I think it is denser.
So now the last one is frozen yogurt. Frozen yogurt.
Or froyo.
Yeah, you want to get some froyo, bro? Now, frozen yogurt is like coming back because there are all these like little frozen yogurt shops popping up where we live.
Yeah, that last like a couple months and then disappeared.
There were a few of them in the 90s when we were kids, and then
there was one by us in the early 90s called TCBY.
Yes, and I think there was also in the airport too, Mitchell Airport.
Yes,
I think there was one, and then they died. Then about 20 years later, they started to pop up again. Not more. TCYB later. Still exists, I think, in other places, but around us, we started about a few years ago. These independently owned ones started popping up,
and they're usually self-serve.
Yeah,
inexpensive.
TCYB wasn't self-serve.
Isn't that in the mall by us?
No,
isn't that TCBY?
I think it might be, and that might be self-serve.
Yeah,
the Southridge Mall. I think that is one. So I think there is one bias. They still exist, but most of the ones we have now are just small independent ones that are self-serving where you buy the ounce and they're incredibly expensive. So, but their food's good.
But damn, are they good?
Yeah. So frozen yogurt blends yogurt, milk's fermented with yogurt cultures with an ice cream base of milk, cream, and sweetener. The resulting dessert is both sweet and tangy, cold and creamy. If made with live cultures, frozen yogurt promotes digestive health by encouraging the growth of friendly bacteria in the intestinal tract. So frozen yogurt basically has the consistency of a really hot girl's pussy. So it's basically eating a really hot girl's pussy.
I like friendly organisms or bacteria.
Yeah. In fact, all these desserts, maybe minus ice milk, I would say would be identical to eating a hot girl's pussy. I also like those soda drinks too from the 1800s.
I'm trying to think if we ever actually had ice milk or low-fat ice cream, as it's called nowadays.
The low-fat ice cream you see now in the stores,
I'm sure we've had it at some point.
I think that's similar to iced milk.
Well, isn't it the same thing? Didn't they just change the name, or is it actually a little different?
I think
because I thought that they just let people change the name of it to low-fat ice cream, or are the ingredients a little different?
There are varying kinds of, like I said, like there's not fat, low fat, and light. So the name was changed they were all changed to reduce low and light. So that's basically all different forms of iced milk. So they're different kinds.
Okay.
So
I'm sure we've had it before, and it was probably okay.
See, it said, like I said in that article, I originally talked about. It said that ice milk had to have between 2%, 11, and 7% fat content. Milk fat. But then Congress passed that Nutrition Labeling and Education Act of 1992, and then the FDA had to create those new rules to define, revising the rules to define nutrient descriptors or fat content terms that were being tossed all over the place, such as reduced, low, and light. So, in dealing with the variety of terms, the new rules kept the 10% standard for ice cream, but dropped the old ice milk rule in favor of the new terms. So, what this is, I'm assuming it means is that ice cream still has to contain at least 10% milk fat, so it's the same as it always was. But the amount of milk fat for ice milk was changed. So not only was the name changed, but the milk content that originally defined ice milk was changed too. So the ice milk we have now, I don't think has the same milk content as the ice milk of yore before the change.
Before 1994.
Yes. Because back then you just had ice milk.
Okay.
Now it said they got rid of. Remember, the milk fat had to be between 2 and 7%, but then the FDA got rid of that rule because of reduced, low, and light, those standards. So the ice milk that fits in those standards, I think, have different milk fat content than the ice milk before.
So I'm sure we've had some kind of ice milk before, but I don't know if it was before or after they changed it.
So the ice milk we have now may not be identical to what was before the rule change, but it's an incredible simulation.
Okay, so if you want to be like Ned Flanders out there, anybody out there in internet land, if you want to be like him from The Simpsons, well, not him exactly now, but an incredible simulation, then pick yourself up some ice milk.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting from it, because before the rule changed, there was just ice milk, then it seemed like it was split into 3 different groups.
Well, does that mean then before the change, ice milk was worse and now it's better? Or was it better now it's worse? Or is it well, it's not the same, but I don't know.
I have no idea.
But it changed. We know that much. We think it did. Since the government's already gotten so involved with ice milk, maybe we can ask them what the hell happened.
The FDA dropped the old ice milk rule, which was between 2 and 7% milk fat, in favor of the new terms. And then the new terms use like grams of sugar per serving. So I'm not exactly sure. How that fits in.
Well, we certainly know then this is true, because when the government gets in the middle of something, usually you have no idea what's going on. It gets way too complicated.
And then according to Wikipedia, because the Canadian guidelines of Wikipedia say that ice milk has to be between 3 and 5% milk fat, while the United States, before the rule change, said ice milk had to have between 2% and 7% milk fat.
Okay.
So our range was a little bigger, but it was similar to the Canadian one. So Canadian was 3 to 5%.
Oh, well,
America was 2 to 7%.
Oh, well, now we just throw another wrench in the gears, because each country now has their own version of ice milk. Like, this wasn't already complicated enough.
Yes. But their stuff's usually similar enough to ours that you really can't even tell it's okay, and plus you probably couldn't tell the difference anyway.
No, not unless you're like a connoisseur of ice milk.
If we had Canadian and American ice milk, we probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference. So anyway, if you're in the hot for something hot and cold, eat your ice cream like frozen yogurt, gelato, or whatever, or not ice milk, because ice milk is worse than regular ice cream. But if you want something hot and cold, you can eat your ice cream, frozen custard, gelato, or frozen yogurt, and your hot girl's pussy too.
And don't forget the double dip.
Yeah, always double dip.
And if you want, add your special whipped topping.
Yeah, your whipped topping. Don't forget that.
But don't eat too fast, otherwise you'll get an ice milk headache.
Yeah, you'll get an ice cream headache if you eat too fast. Okay, so I think that about covers it for ice milk.
I think we made it about as interesting as we can make it.
So ice milk still exists, folks, just in a couple different forms,
with a different name and a different form.
But always remember, remember deep within your mind as well as deep within your heart that ice milk is inferior to the other.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say deep within your pants.
And that too.
Yeah, don't stick ice cream, ice milk, or any other frozen dairy concoction in your pants.
And please don't get ice milk. Please don't get ice milk or ice cream or whatever in your hoochie either. That's not fun. So always remember that ice milk is okay, but it's inferior to the much superior other ones because they have much more fat, so they're better.
Yeah, why try the rest when you can have the best?
So remember, ice milk still exists out there in some form or another.
So pick one up, and when you do, think of us.
Yeah. So only buy ice milk if you have like diabetes or something. I don't know.
Some medical condition.
They won't let you have the good stuff.
Yes, or you're on a diet.
Yeah. So therefore, if you like this podcast or any of our other podcasts, please feel free to like us on our page or leave comments in our comment section
below.
Yep.
Each video.
Don't forget to do that, bitches. We're counting on you.
And if you like our channel, please subscribe to it. We know we sound like a broken record on every podcast, but hey, if we say it enough, maybe we'll actually trick people into doing it.
Oh, like the liberals, how they always state a fake truth and then eventually it does become the truth.
Yeah, if you just repeat something enough, it becomes true.
Yeah, think of it like that.
Yeah, so on that note, this is James Michael Wagner
and John Christopher Wagner
signing off. So, for John.
For John.